Good morning. I'm welcome to another edition of Rise and Shine. I'm Henry Haseeb.
I'm James Gordon.
And we have a very interesting topic today. What current event we are calling this? We're going to start off the program with a brief inspirational prayer here to get us started. With God's name, merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer, bless us in all the aspect of doing good and keep us from the wrong. Amen.
Amen. Stay tuned for this break. We're going to be right back on these important messages.
But the Trump administration aren't the only ones to begin their terms by trying to get along with Russia. You remember, the Obama administration did as well. Listen.
Yeah, and Hillary walks into that meeting asking for nothing with her giant button that actually said overcharge in Russian. And she's telling them, OK, you can have whatever you want from us. You know, even a more glaring example was when President Obama was talking to Medvedev of the Russian Republic. And he tells him, after my next election, I'll have more flexibility. Now, that's him admitting he was lying to the American public during that election cycle, and afterwards he would give Russia what they wanted. But yet, where's the outrage? Where's the press saying we should investigate that?
Of course, Jim, we have the sound of that hot mic moment. Listen to Obama in 2012.
My last election, yeah. After my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah. Okay, I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir.
Now, President Trump wants to make a less antagonistic relationship with the Russians, maybe get them to stop hurting us with North Korea, stop hurting us in Syria, and all of a sudden it's the worst thing that's ever happened. It's glaring hypocrisy.
Welcome back. We're going to jump right into the subject matter, talking about current events.
All right. You know, we got a lot of things that's happening around the world today. I mean, there's so much that you get inundated with the TV. You know, it used to be you like to watch a movie or something during the week or something, or on the weekend, but now the news have become just a big movie that you can't hardly turn on the news. You know, everything, so much is happening here that you miss a lot of the movies. So I'm sure the ratings of those TV programs have probably gone down, and news rating has probably gone up. And as you say there, that they keep things going to keep those ratings up, whether they are good or bad, and most of the time they're bad.
And I think you hit the very important subject matter there. I think the current president, President Trump, is such a, with the little TV show that he had with The Apprentice, I think he's done sometimes you wonder if some of the statements they make are true or done just to kick ratings up or just to stir the pot to keep controversial up. And I worry about my Democratic Party and thinking that what is our message to get the young voters out? You know, I think that, you know, we're talking about President Trump going to Helsinki to speak with President Putin, maybe North Korea, maybe President Obama going to Cuba, speaking to leaders that we don't necessarily agree with. But moving forward, 2018, 2020, what are we as a Democratic Party doing? I guess that'd be a subject matter for a later show, to motivate our base, to motivate to get the young people to go out to vote. Because this last election we saw, I think we had 20% participation rate on local.
Yes, you know, and that's probably on both sides. I don't know if it's necessarily got to do with a party so much as it got to do with people in general.
I agree.
People has become complacent and I guess fed up with our political system because we have seen so much corruption in it. And I think we're going to have to work to get the corruption out of politics.
Now you sound like you're going to drain the swamp.
Well, the thing about it is, and a lot of times you're right. That's a good analogy. A lot of times people will tell us what we want to hear, rather than really the truth of what's going to happen. And that's a good example of draining the swamp, when we really mean we're only going to drain it so we can fill it with reptiles and even worse than what's already in there. So,
reptiles like us.
So we have to be careful of the language that's being used against us here. The whole thing that I say, you know, I talk a lot about morals and spirituality of the human being, which I think is the two things that will make a a human being, a more productive human being, and a human being that can sleep at night, you know. I try to do things in a way that at the end of the day that I can go to bed and I can get a good night's sleep without having nightmares of what I did that day. And that's where the morals and all come in. But the society that we're living in and the environment that we have created is what I call a hellish environment. And it seemed to be that the people enjoy the hell or the what I call corruption, the confusion, and all of that more than they enjoy the peace and the tranquility. And I think until we get back to that kind of stuff, then we're going to have to live with what we have created.
Amen. Today we're going to speak about the presidents going to these foreign countries and talking to folks who don't necessarily believe like Americans and how we feel about it. So recently, President Trump went to Helsinki, I think, to meet with President Putin, and that caused a lot of comments around the around the globe, to say the least. What are your thoughts, Brother Haseeb?
Well, you know, when we look at the world today, and I've heard a speaker put it this way, say the world is becoming a smaller place. You know, back in the day, you could go to places like China there, and it may be a week or two before you get the information back. But today, everything is instant. As soon as you say it out your mouth, you can't take it back. You can't edit it. And I believe that this last representation that we had by the leader of this country, President Trump, there was probably the worst that I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess to play devil's advocate on that, you know, we both being Democrats, it's hard sometimes to take both sides of the coin. But I would say that the president visiting Russia seems to be an effort to start talks with someone who you feel is an enemy, who, you know, if you and I didn't get along and we had a fence line dispute, you know, in America there's a lot of, it seems like if we could satisfy all the domestic squabbles, be it fence lines with your neighbor or a relationship with your spouse or your significant other, that would be like half or 75% of our problems. So when it comes to nations, when a president of one country says, I'm going to visit someone who doesn't believe like I believe, to try to make sure we have some kind of level of understanding as far as how we go forward. I mean, like President Obama once said, I guess we shouldn't be afraid to talk to our enemies. And when he goes and talks to Cuba, it wasn't to make America like Cuba or to accept Cuba's humanitarian ways of locking up their enemies. When President Trump goes to Russia, it's not for him to accept the ways that President Castro locks up their enemies. Russia seems like their enemies disappear from the face of the earth. So it's not done the same way, and neither one of those are endorsed by America, but it is not, I mean, they're going to talk to these guys to try to work out a way that we can get along, if you would, in this world.
Well, and I can understand that. You use the example of fence line. First of all, I see all human beings as human beings before they're Cuban, before they're American, before they're Russian, and all the other things. I think that's what we have to realize.
Amen.
That we have to respect each other as a human being. Then whether we are friends or enemy usually is based on the philosophy that we come up with. Now you mentioned fence line. I believe now if we got a fence line, and every time or every few years or so I come and I check the fence line and the fence line keep edging over maybe 2, 3, 5 feet over my way, then I have to now get with you to say, hey, something is wrong with this fence line. 5 years ago it was over here, but now it's obviously that it's over here. And you can deny it all that you want. You can deny that, oh, that line was there, that is rightfully so, or that it should have been there, it always should have been there. But the fact of the matter is that the fence line was moved by somebody. And that's what we have to realize. Now, we can say that somebody was another nation, like we try to do, and people like to do this a lot. Anytime something happens to a person, they always want to blame somebody else for what happened to them. They never want to take the responsibility. And I think we have to, as citizens of America, and we have to hold our leader responsible for what they do. And instead of saying, oh, it could have been this one, it could have been that one, let's face the facts. And that's something that we had not done lately.
Well, here's one of the facts when it comes to foreign countries. Cuba being so close to our borders, there's many Americans that would like to visit Cuba. The Cuban cigars have been banned in America for generations. Cuban has a rich culture. It's very similar to that of Haiti, and of the Haiti being French, more so the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is on the same island as Hispaniola, as you know, but they're right adjacent to Cuba, and they share many of the same cultures. But visiting Cuba, I guess, is a desire for many Americans. So I think a president going there to try to normalize relations, is saying, okay, we got this embargo that we put on you, these sanctions we put on you since 1960s. Russia also has a lot of sanctions put on them, but I'm just saying that if a president goes over there and say, well, if I go over here and normalize this relationship, doesn't mean we get along, agree to everything. It just means that we agree to disagree.
Right. Well,
now that fence line, that's Cuba, that the Americans are not allowed to visit legally unless they're going under the guise of humanitarian efforts or government business. That fence goes away. Now I can go and visit on a vacation, or Carnival Cruise, or somebody can go by there, and I can visit Havana, which is a town I've heard about all my life, but yet I've never been able to visit. Most Americans would say.
Well, you know,
Russia, same way. Russia and America equals 90% of the nuclear weapons in America, in the world. 90%. So we talk about North Korea, nuclear weapons and nuclear capabilities. North Korea is really, it's like a kindergarten compared to America being like a college student. The two, they're not on nowhere near level playing fields. It's just that North Korea could hurt South Korea if they were to want to go to war. So since America has an interest in South Korea, America has interest in Guam, America has interest in Japan, if you would, then we said, okay, let's try to quell this, because this guy can reach out to Japan, he can reach out to Guam, he can reach out to South Korea. He may not be able to reach America, but let's try to tap down this nuclear threat, if you would.
Well, I think the threat of war is bad anytime, you know, but it is written, you know, in the scripture that there'll be wars and rumors of wars, and that's because it comes out of the mind of men. And what brings about war is that we want to have power and control over another. We want to control somebody else's house other than our own house.
But if you were the president and you had an opportunity to speak to someone who we didn't have a relationship with, we didn't have a speaking relationship with, but you are a communicator. You being a very God-fearing man will talk to any religious leader about their beliefs, and it won't change your beliefs, it won't change your foundation, it won't change your anchor. At the same time, you can talk to them on an intelligent level about theirs, and it helps y'all to have understanding that I'm not here against you. And I think you do that many times.
Well, I think that's a good analogy, but except recently what we've been seeing in the news and what's being reported, what we're hearing come out of our leaders' mouth, you would think that's just the opposite. You would think somebody has either got him under hypnotism or something, because the people are just shocked at what comes out of his mouth, that he would be for an enemy and against his own self and his own country.
Sad part about that, the news media, our news media does a great job. Our intelligence agencies do a great job. However, there has been proof lately that people in our intelligence agency have been corrupted in a way that they were trying to alter election results, be it for or against anyone. And there's bias in the news. If you watch CNN, NBC, Fox, CBS, that's 4 networks, you're going to get 4 different stories on the same story.
And I understand that. But when the camera is rolling, Doc, and you seeing the person's lip moving, and what they're saying on their lips matches what the sound bites are. You can't. Here's the
problem. Here's the problem that I see. Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
The media is biased.
When President Haseeb, when President Trump says, "Okay, I'm going to meet with President Kim or Emperor Kim, whatever Kim's title is, or when they're going to meet with President Putin," I said, "Okay, let me stay up to 5 o'clock in the morning because that's late time over in Russia or Helsinki or wherever they're meeting. Let me stay up to see this." And I thought about, well, you're not going to see the actual meeting, but after the meeting, there will be a speech. And the speech after the meeting is usually an hour, half hour. The problem with that is the news medias, whatever spin they want to put on it, will take a 30-second clip from this part of the speech, a 30-second clip from that part of the speech, and they'll make speech say what they wanted to say. That's why you get 4 different stories from 4 different networks. These guys all have something to gain, and they're there for the money. Our capitalistic system has made it not about the news, but about the ratings and about their emotional beliefs. How many times have you turned on a news thing and the anchor's been all emotional and trying to persuade you to think like they think?
I do
take your emotions out of it and be professional about it.
I do understand it depends on, as you say, which side of the fence you're on, whether you're for or against. And I understand that side. But I'm saying again, that when you got a camera rolling, live camera,
you don't hear the whole thing,
and you see what the guy says out of his mouth, and then he himself want to come back and deny that he said what he said.
I watched the whole speech. I watched the whole speech between when Merkel and President Trump gets on the stage, or when the Prime Minister of England gets on the stage with President Trump. I make it my business to see the whole entire interview, because I know that someone's going to pull a piece of that interview and it's going to say something different. And that's what happens in President. Like you say, well, Trump's against our intelligence agency. The speech didn't say that. President Trump says, I blame both sides. There's enough blame to go around on both sides. Basically saying that it's been shown in the past, in the recent history, that American intelligence sometimes have an axe to grind and make things a little bit different. And then Russian intelligence, he didn't say he believed Russian intelligence over American intelligence. He said, I believe there's enough blame to go around on both sides. And then it was revealed that there's a 1999 treaty with Russia that says to an American police agency that if you got one of our citizens that you want to accuse of something, to indict, you come here, you sit with our investigators and your investigators, and you ask the questions you want to ask, and then we move from there. So that should be the first step. If you got somebody unsuspicious, that should be the first step, to go to that country and then interview them or put the documents forward. Hey, this is the proof that you did X, Y, Z. But we don't do that. We jumped over that whole fence and went to an indictment, and that's not fair to the rule of law, if you will.
What we did was
rule of law.
We went in front of a known enemy, Putin, in Russia, and we admitted to him that, okay, it's all right for you to do wrong because we do wrong too. But I guarantee you this. I will guarantee you this, that Putin will never admit that he did what the president of these United States admit that America is doing. Oh yes, I'm taking your land. I'm moving the fence. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And you ought to be happy because I'm on your side.
Okay, but we've been a nation that always, to the average person, we believe that we do things a certain, we like to believe we do things a certain way. Are we involved in world business? Sure we are. Why are we involved in that world business? Why are we involved in the removal of Gaddafi? Why are we involved in the removal of this leader or that leader? We don't know. We're lay people. We never know. We're top secret. But I'm saying that if the president says, any president says, I believe this person over that person, then that'd be wrong. But what I saw on the news clips, I watched the full debriefing, if you would, with Putin and Trump on the same stage. Then I watched the news clips from Fox, CNN, MSNBC. What I saw on MSNBC, CNN, and Fox, they all three took 30 seconds out of the 1 hour speech, and it made it say what they wanted to say. Like people can always do that. I'm not saying that I'm a Democrat. I didn't vote for Trump. I don't. Russia our enemy. North Korea is our enemy. Cuba is a communist country. They don't believe like we believe. And you know, being a God-fearing man, I try to love everyone and try not to do the hate thing. But at the same time, we don't believe the way we believe. We agree to disagree on the way they run their business and the way we do things in America.
Well, you know, I don't have any problem with any of that. The problem I have is that human being by its nature is a moral creature. And morality has gotten out of the decision making that we make in this country and in other countries too. Because if we had any moral conviction about ourselves, then we would be trying to find ways, and we could spend our energy finding ways of how to help other human beings.
When you say we, I believe
we as human beings.
We as the individuals of the country, we as the president of the country, and we as the news media in the country. All of our morals have to do a little bit.
Exactly, and that's what we have to judge each other on. Now, as I say, two wrongs don't make a right. And a lot of times we try to justify each other wrong. If I go and I do wrong, then instead of me correcting my wrongs, I want to talk to you about your wrong. I don't want to talk about my wrongs. Yeah, I stole your land, but now when you came to get it back, then that's all I want to talk about, how wrong you are for trying to get what's yours back from me.
Amen.
Something is wrong with that picture. We got to change our mindset, our mentality for how we deal with things, and we got to have a moral base for dealing with anything.
It's a great place.
All right, well, we're going to be right back to continue this most important subject here. Stay tuned for these brief commercials.
H&H Financial Services in Mobile has over 20 years experience in accounting, bookkeeping, appraisals, real estate, and year-round tax preparations. Give them a call today at 251-438-1620 or visit them at 1560 St. Stephen's Road in Mobile. Let your money grow in our care at H&H Financial Services.
I'm Dr. James Gordon, D.C. My actions show that I care for our great state. I even named my company Alabama Injury and Pain Clinic. Car smash and hurting? The only number you need is mine and you'll be fine. Chiropractor Dr. James Gordon at 476-PAIN.
Are all pain lines equal?
Maybe so. One call, that's all, at 476-PAIN. The choice is yours.
All right, welcome back to Rise and Shine, where we've been talking about some of the latest current events that's been happening around the world. We've been talking about what has been going on, that most of us are aware of now, that has been happening with the leaders in these different countries here.
Yeah, and I think you brought up an important point, is that we have a moral, we don't want situational credibility and we don't want situational morals. Our morals should be the same regardless of where we are, whether in the country we are, as should our credibility. But one thing the two take to heart is that when you travel abroad, the American Bill of Rights and the rights of the citizen that you have in this country sort of leave at this country. You sort of beholden to the country that you go to, the way they treat their citizens. And when you act like I'm an American, I have rights in a foreign country, you may meet with some problems.
Well, you often do it. A lot of times I call that being westernized and not understanding other cultures. But the thing about that, Doc, is really about respect. Well, if I respect you, you like the color blue and I like the color red. Why should we get to arguing over whether red is better than blue or blue is better, and we can't really get to the point we both have a shirt?
Well, I agree with that, brother. I see, and also, like when we're dealing with our presidents, like I remember when President Obama was in office, and you saw negative cartoons depicting him as a straight male or a gay male or whatnot. We should have more respect for our political leaders, respect the office. You know, we shouldn't be throwing anybody under the bus or putting out derogatory information that we know to be not true. And when it comes to these guys, when they go overseas and they speak to folks like in Helsinki or like Cuba.
All right, we're going to take another commercial break at this time, and we'll be right back with the conclusion of this important subject.
I'm Dr. James Gordon, D.C. My actions show that I care for our great state. I even named my company Alabama Injury and Pain Clinic. Car smash and hurting? The only number you need is mine and you'll be fine. Chiropractor Dr. James Gordon at 476-PAIN.
Are all pain lines equal?
Maybe so. One call, that's all, at 476-PAIN. The choice is yours.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine, where we've been talking about some current events of what's going on around the world.
Well, and I think more particularly, we're trying to finish up on this subject matter about President Trump going to Russia. And I would say to people that, in my closing remarks, Brother Haseeb, I would say that, you know, I've been the victim of that side that gets prejudged, and prejudging, someone that prejudges you, it's not nice when that happens. And I would say that when you looking at political candidates, when you look at political candidates at local races, county races, state races, or federal races, do your own research and look at more facts than a news snippet. A 30-second soundbite is not going to give you anything but a biased opinion. I'm a strong Democrat, always been a Democrat all my life, but I don't hate my Republican counterparts. I understand they got a right to voice their opinion. They got a right to believe the way they want to believe. If they want to look out for this class of people or that group of people, that's their right. That's not me. We agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to champion or repeat a soundbite just because it sounds good for the moment, or just because it riles up the masses. Hands up, don't shoot. If hands up, don't shoot, the hands were never up, then I don't want to repeat that rhetoric. And I think that you've got to do your own research.
Well, and I say in concluding, Doc, that we have to watch these alternative facts because if you see with your eyes, as you say, hands up, don't shoot. If you see the person with their hands up and they get shot, but you're gonna believe that, hey, their hands wasn't up. You see a guy running away and he gets shot in the back, but you're gonna believe that he was trying to attack that. Then I think totally something wrong. Is really wrong with those facts.
That's not a turn to facts, I see. If you see somebody run away and get shot,
let me put it the way it really is. That's a lie. That's a L-I-E. That's a lie. But they call it alternative fact.
That is not a turn to fact. That's a fact. You got that's a fact. If a bullet wound goes in somebody's back, that's a fact. That's not a turn about that. Ain't nothing right about that officer. That officer's totally wrong. Should go under the jail, and that's a fact.
Yeah. I agree, but we need to change the language there and just call it what it is.
Amen.
Because it's either a fact or it's a lie. It's not alternative.
You're right.
But I think we've had a good conversation here, and probably one that we need to continue because this is a hot button now. But we try to approach these subjects from another point of view, so to give our audience that. So be sure to come and join us next week for another edition of Rise and Shine. Good to be back.